Hello, welcome. This is Derek Newman still, and I'm here with Dr. Sylvie Bérard. Sylvie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us about your background and give us a sense of who you are.
I teach at Trent University. I teach in French and Francophone literatures. When I came to Trent, I was teaching Quebec literature, and also science fiction in French. And now I'm teaching more Indigenous literature and Franco-Ontarian literature, always connected to gender, to queer issues, to identities. So that's one of my parallel lives. And I'm also a writer, and I actually have two parallel writers because I write science fiction and I write poetry.
Oh, that's
And I identify as queer, and I've been in Peterborough for 20 years now.
yeah.
And yeah, and I'm originally from Montreal, but I've been in Ontario for quite a while. And my first language is French, as you people who are listening may have noticed.
That's fantastic. Oh, I'm really glad that you've been in Peterborough I guess, for almost the full length of time that Pride has, because we're looking at the 20th anniversary this year, so it's pretty exciting. Um, what are some of your memories of Pride? What are some of the things that stood out in Peterborough Pride history?
I remember the first year I went. I think it was the first year of Pride ever. If
Yeah.
it's the 20th anniversary, then it was the first ever. I missed it actually because it was very small, and I was used to Toronto Pride or Montreal Pride. You arrive fashionably late, and then it doesn't start in time and on time, and so I arrived not so fashionably late, but just a tiny bit late, and it was gone, and I could only see a small dot, at the horizon. They were gone, so I missed the first the first parade, and then but I actually got the second one, and I actually was amazed. I had lived in Peterborough actually 4 years before 2002, and I could see the kind of city that was. The city was changing, but it was, to me, it felt anyway very conservative, with some also artistic people, but a conservative core, I would say. Maybe I was wrong, but that's how I felt about it. And that's how I felt also about smaller towns. Having
Yeah.
lived being from Montreal, having lived in Toronto, to me, Peterborough felt small. And to
Yeah.
me, it was almost risky or edgy to have a gay queer event in a smaller city. It was true, actually. It's not that much now. I have queer friends who move to smaller towns now, and it feels safer to be in smaller towns. But back when I was younger, my queer friends all lived in bigger cities because it didn't feel safe to or they couldn't be themselves living in smaller cities. So I really was happy to see that happening in Peterborough, in short. And it still feels this way to attend Peterborough Pride, because of course it's fun to go to bigger cities events. It's big, it lasts forever, and it's crowded and everything. But the political dimension of Peterborough Pride, to me, has always been very precious. It's important that this event take place in that kind of city.
Absolutely. It reminds us of our roots, right?
Mhm.
Being like, people think about Pride as just a party, but we have our roots in rebellion. We have our roots in standing up for ourselves. We have our roots in politics.
Yes, yes, yes. And when I was having this conversation with a friend recently, and he said, why do they want to be so political about Pride? It was about Montreal Pride that didn't, well, the parade didn't happen a few days ago because there were some things. Anyway, he said, but why do they want to bring political issues to the discussion? It's an event that's for all publics, and all kind of people, and why do they have to be so political? So, when was Pride not political? To me, of course you can have fun being political, but to me, there's still, the day when it's not political is going to be just one big party, and that would mean that we're way beyond that where we are right now. So but then, there will still be issues that we will want to address. It's never over, right? Being political. So to me, it's important that there's also a message that is relayed uh, along with the fun we're having.
Absolutely, absolutely. Uh, this reminds me, actually, this year's Pride theme is joy and resistance. And so acknowledging both sides of those, the kind of experience of joy and the experience of resistance as well, and the fact that those come together in really unique ways around Pride.
Yeah, I
So
think it's a very, very well chosen, as if I had read the memo, but but I really agree with that.
So, related to that question, what is queer joy to you? What does queer joy mean for you?
It could mean anything. It could mean well, being yourself to me
Yeah,
is joyful. To be to in all the many ways you can be queer. I mean, you don't have to be just one thing. Is also to be able to challenge what is, to just challenge, not challenge for the sake of challenging, but just challenge for the sake of, okay, what would things be if we dare going just a bit further, opening a little more. And to me, it brings me joy. And also, to what I like also about Pride is to see, because maybe there's a voyeur dimension in this also, because I like to see the joy of other people, the way
yeah,
they can present themselves that make them happy. To me, it's also part of the joy and pride.
absolutely. There's so much people watching that happens because I know when we've been at Pride at the same time and walked together, both of us have been scanning the audience, being like, "What's happening? It's so fascinating." And just that expression of joy that people have in their clothing and the way that they move, it's totally different than the rest of the year.
Yes, and people get dressed for pride in
Yeah.
their own special ways, and they decorate their stroller, they decorate their dogs when it's not too hot for the dog to be walking.
Yeah.
And they really go to, it's like going to a big ball, except that it's on the street, and you get dressed for it, and you're happy. You dye your hair, you all kinds of ways. So yes, I like that. And what I like also is to invite, this is a pandemic, I haven't done it, but to invite people to come from out of town to come walk
Yeah.
also with me, so they can see the kind of pride people, the kind of queer people you can meet in Peterborough. So I think it's also about sharing. It's
Yeah.
sharing the what's happening around us.
It's interesting too, because I find in larger cities, the queer population breaks down into lesbian population, gay population, bi population, trans population. In Peterborough, because there's so few of us, everyone comes together in a really beautiful way because there just isn't enough mass to be able to divide us. And
Yes,
so I
yes.
think there's some beauty to that.
Yeah, there's no Dyke March or Trans March, or which are great. I really like them in Toronto because that's where I get probably the political uh, part that I actually value is in marches. That there's also a difference between marches and parades. In
Absolutely.
Peterborough, you get everything at the same time. It's all in the same package. But I like also to see that there are allies that come to the march, people who actually are very involved but don't identify as queer, but they want to, or they might, and I don't, you don't know, right? People are in the march and they support the whole thing. But it's interesting also to meet like-minded people that are maybe less flamboyant during the rest of the year, and then you have a chance to chat with someone. Oh, I didn't know, it's a small town, so sometimes you've seen the person having a coffee next to you, and then you realize, oh, this person is wearing a rainbow pattern shirt. Oh, that's fun. I only saw you wearing black. I usually wear black. I don't have anything against black, but I mean, it's a way also to meet people a different way.
Absolutely. And that sense of community is so strong. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I've liked for a few years now is there. It's more than just the march. It's the full week of event. You can go to a drag bingo, or you can go. I didn't check the event for this year yet, but you can go to all kinds of events that speak to you. It's there's a so it's yeah, everybody in the parade on one day, but then we have now the luxury of having different kinds of event, more family oriented or more bar oriented. Or
Absolutely. It's nice to see that not everything is bar oriented as well, because that's one of the challenges with so much of our queer population is that things end up getting shuffled into bar spaces, which aren't accessible for everyone. And especially since our community does include folks who may be alcoholics as well, like it's really dangerous to just have bar space.
yes, yes. And it's also night, not only night events, because not
Exactly.
everybody is a night owl as I am. Morning events, you forget me talking. But it's yeah, I'll all times all day long you can be queer. So you can be queer in the morning, you can be queer at midnight. It caters for all tastes and lifestyles. And
Absolutely. So related to the queer joy, in what ways do we see queer resistance? What does queer resistance mean to you? And how does that come out in Peterborough?
I think resistance is not only resisting is not only about, it's not, it could sound negative. Resisting to something is not accepting, but resistance is really connected to some kind of um, battle ongoing battle, that
Yeah,
not everything, because it's good when we don't have to resist. It's good that everything goes fine, but at the same time it's so fragile. So we need to constantly to be aware that what we've gained can be lost, um, overnight, by
yeah,
an election, by a law, by a group, by it's very fragile. So I think resistance is also about surviving, about I don't like the word resilience, but it's about resisting. I think I prefer resistance to resilience,
yeah,
because it's active. It's about keeping on building and doing stuff, so what is gained is not lost when we're not looking. So I think it's important. And sometimes we can also, when we are queer, our friends are queer, we also live in a bubble, the bubbles that social media create also. We talk with people who think the way we think, and we are not aware that there are people outside of the bubble that are just waiting to for us to fall. This is a bit a bit strong a word, but there are people out there who don't only want our good in terms of queerness. So I think resisting is important. It's an awareness that of our own fragility, I would say.
absolutely. I think about it when I read the comments. It really has
Don't
that.
read the comments.
It's that reminder of like, oh no, we have not made as much progress as I thought we have.
No, 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 no. It's I remember the first Pride, and people were protesting Pride in Peterborough. I think at some point they felt very isolated, and they decided not to protest that much.
Yeah,
But they're still there. I mean, they're just there waiting, and if they feel they have more audience, they're more, they can recruit more people, they will come back, they will show up again, they're still around.
absolutely. I'm wondering if can you talk about that experience of seeing the protesters at the first few prides? Because I think that's something, like I remember going to the first few prides and seeing the protesters, and that was really intimidating. Like there was something really, um, yeah, really upsetting about that.
Yeah, I remember that also people were, what I like about the crowd, the Pride crowd, it was done very peacefully, just
Yeah,
by being there, taking up the space that is the street, just being there, not, not insulting or anything, just being there and very reassured in, uh, our own identities and
yeah,
convictions and beliefs. And so that's a way of resisting very peacefully.
yeah,
uh, but there are still there's still the occasional sign that you can see. And I think the best way, just because people are allowed also to express themselves, although you don't agree. If I wish I could talk to them and talk them into, but sometimes it's, anyway, you need to choose your battles.
yeah, exactly.
But I think just by being there peacefully, you can do wonders. And it's not only I mean, I've been to other Pride also, and there were protesters in Toronto,
Yeah,
especially during the Trans March,
absolutely.
because it's smaller, right? So protesters, people who are against the march will feel more comfortable. It's a small, it's easier to attack a smaller group, which
Yeah,
is not very brave. But and I've seen people doing. I really actually liked what happened, because they were just on Yonge Street,
yeah,
and people, very scary letter people just went in front of them, and they actually just stood in front of them, didn't do anything, just were there standing. And I think it was one of the best ways of showing some solidarity to the people who
absolutely.
were marching.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's just like literally the human wall, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Says something about like, your beliefs are outmoded, they're old, they don't fit in with what's going on right now in
yeah,
society.
yeah.
And it's not okay to be violent toward queer people anymore, or at least I
No,
would hope.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and why are why do you feel that need of, why do you want to argue about someone's identity? This is something I never understood. Why do you have an opinion about my identity?
exactly.
That's not something I can understand.
Absolutely. So overall, what does pride mean to you when you hear the word pride, especially in relation to our community? What does that feel like for you? What does it mean?
Uh, I know that some people say, why pride? Why be proud? Why be proud? I mean, I was saying, you shouldn't have an opinion about identity. So why be proud about something? But it's not about being proud about something that you are. Yeah, it's about that also, but it's about daring to be it out in the open, publicly,
Yeah,
to show who you are. And no matter what you face, you're there. And so that's what pride means to me, being in people's face and in my own way, and supporting those who are in their own ways. And I think to me it's important. And the diversity also of being LGBTQ2 as the many ways, and all different under the same parade. And
absolutely. I think there's something incredible about that umbrella that holds all of us together, right?
yeah,
Uh, and I think there's something very resistant about being proud as well. When the rest of our society is telling us we shouldn't be proud, there's something really powerful about the act of being proud, and also the act of being visible, as you mentioned.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The whole society is relaying sometimes such a message about how ashamed we should be of everything we are,
Yeah,
not only our identity, but what we do. We should be, and it starts at a very early age. And education sometimes is based on shaming those who cannot make it to a certain, it's and
mm,
it's frankly, it's not it's not the best way to teach something to someone.
yeah,
Shame doesn't create anything. It just it just creates immobility and stillness. And um, whereas pride is movement, is action, is
I love that. Pride is movement, pride is action. I love that. That's fantastic. So is there anything you want to say to sort of wrap things up that encompasses your feelings around Peterborough Pride, around, or I should say Peterborough-Nogojiwanong Pride?
um, well, that it's a great event. I like it, and it's a great yeah, all the events are great, especially about the parade. What I said about, the street, and we're on the street. One thing I would like to say, and I know we had this conversation before, but it's take your time. You're on the street, you're in the street, you're street for the duration of the parade. The street belongs to you. Just take your time, walk slowly, just enjoy the people around you, the space you're in. It's precious. Not all the streets in the world are available for queer people still also. So I think it's precious. The space that's been created, it's very precious, and we need to make it last as long as possible. And same for the whole week. It's important to savor everything that's about this week. And it's, we live, I mean, yes, we need to resist, but if we compare to other situations, we live in relatively queer friendly-ish spaces. Let's say it this way.
Yeah,
So it's important to actually measure everything, measure what we have, and to embrace it with care, I would say.
absolutely. And I love that idea of taking our time as well. This street belongs to us for a very short amount of time. Why don't we use it, right?
Yeah.
We take the time and walk through and be slow and let people let people also catch up.
Yeah, yeah. First year I missed the I missed the parade. It's a lesson learned. Walk slowly.
It seems to be a race for so many people. And as a disabled person, I'm constantly like, okay, I'm trying to keep up. Well, thank you so much for your time, Sylvie, and thank you so much for taking the time out to chat with us and for your brilliant insights as always. It's really appreciated.
Thank you so much for letting me give me the chance to talk about pride. I feel very yeah, very privileged to have been able to have this microphone and this conversation with you, because we live busy lives and we don't always have the time to have a chat together. So I'm very happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much.